All right.
Sure.
We were talking about Miller.
No,
Okay.
right. So you walked into it.
So Jim finally, I said, watch very close, see if he takes a practice swing.
Never did.
Never saw one.
Yeah.
He never takes a practice putting stroke.
Really?
No, never. He'll hit his ball in high grass like this, pitching over a bunker.
Same.
Never takes a chip in practice
Right.
swing. And
See, in
when he
Texas-
putts, he goes on the putting green and never putts in a hole.
Just putts.
Putts.
That's cool though.
And
So that's cool.
he was a fabulous player, man. He won a lot of tournaments, played on
Oh, yeah.
Ryder Cups,
Yeah.
and beat the hell out of us on the
Yeah.
senior tour. And
Was he Texas? He was raised in Texas. Where was he
he's
raised?
from Texarkana.
Texas. Okay. All right. I thought.
And it was incredible how well he could play. And now, here's really good. So now Jim's going to caddy for him. And I said, now Jim Miller has gotten, we're the same age, but he's got older quicker than I have. I said, now you're going to have to really help him with his yardage and stuff. Okay. So we were playing and Miller's hitting short of every green. And I told Jim, I said, Jim, Miller can't forget how far he used to hit the ball. He's forgotten some, but not enough.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you've got to lie to him about the yardage. Yes, this is true. I said, you got to lie to him about the yardage. And then it will be okay. He needs to be able to help me, but he can't do it if he misclimbs every hole. So after 2 or 3 holes, and he's still hitting them short, I said, Jim, you have got to lie to him about the yardage. He said, but he'll fire me. I said, but if you don't, I'm going to fire you. I said, so I want you to feel real comfortable and safe. Does he have a yardage book? No. I said, does he ever walk over and look at a sprinkler? No.
So you're safe.
So he says, how far am I? You tell him a lie.
What do you want? 10 more?
You gotta
Give
lie
him
about
10 more.
Yeah, gotta lie about
So
10
it's
yards.
160. You give him
And he
170.
did that for 2 or 3 years to Miller. Miller never had a yardage book, never got out of the car and looked at his sprinkler head.
I do love that. I love that. I love it. I haven't played here in a long time.
You wouldn't like
It's
it.
been ages. I bet you it's been 15 years at least.
You wouldn't like
That's how I play.
I wouldn't like it.
No.
Karen, I'll finish this one.
It's not.
But I just wanted to tell you that story because he was such a marvelous golf player. Boy, he could really play.
Well, all these guys, like Julie Boris, Hogan, if there's a good Hogan story, tell me a good Hogan story. I just, that's what people love, his stories. I love the stories, love the whole, we could sit here and talk about you guys all day long of what you've accomplished, and we'll touch on it, but I love those stories. They just, they're special.
That I'm so damn old that I played with all those guys. That was a good part.
Come on, we'll get this thing going.
And Miller was like the #1 money winner on the tour.
Senior tour?
No,
Regular tour.
the regular tour until Tom Kite asked him.
Oh, really? In
In money winners.
Money winners, yeah.
Yes. You think it was Arnold Palmer or this one or that one, but
So he just made every cut he
it was
played.
Miller.
He played all
He
the time.
played, but he
He never
played,
missed a cut.
he
No,
won
he
a
never
lot.
missed
and won.
He won a lot.
Yeah, and I don't think that swing. I remember this. But that's just
It looked funny, but he
But
really
you know what,
hit
That
it.
impact. It was
You
perfect.
know what Sam Snead said about him?
Hmm.
He's got the best balance of anybody playing.
Balance. Yeah. You had good balance.
Not anymore.
You have beautiful daughters. Well, you're 120 years old.
Well, I told the, I thought that there was a guy, Wolf,
Yeah,
Michael Wolf,
Matthew.
Matthew Wolf, yeah.
Yeah.
his teacher said something that was just, I just laughed when he said it. I thought it was so good. Because he took this boy over, you know, and he didn't change anything. The little boy was doing it. He didn't teach him to do all that.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'm of the theory that it doesn't make any difference how pretty you swing list at the top. All that counts is what happens when you hit the ball.
The impact.
That's right. And you know the funny thing about his impact position, everybody said it's a preset, but he presets to impact.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's it.
I haven't seen, nobody shown me an impact, or I haven't looked at an impact position on my kid, but I guarantee you it's flawless. Jimmy Furyk, same thing.
Yeah.
Same action.
But this
Miller.
this
Miller
wolf,
Barber. I mean,
this-
that's-
Yeah, but he even takes his left hip. Now,
this wolf
Yeah.
does this.
yeah, that's interesting what he does
See, he
with
does
he kind of
that. Yeah,
kickstarts.
he's an impact
He's
position.
an impact.
left hips
Yeah.
all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's impressive.
I do it this way. I'm sneaky. I go like this, and then I do it.
When you think about, well, you know, you kind of think about that as a pre-shot.
Right.
I mean, it's like
He's a big, strong
I'm trying to
boy.
think- I'm trying to think of Hogan disciple. Chuck Cook taught him.
Cool.
Went to Auburn. I mean, he won the PGA.
That's where Matthew went?
Won the PGA. No.
Or Wolf?
I'm trying to think of the golfer.
What are you trying to think of?
The golfer who went to Auburn. Very bright guy. Won the PGA.
Just recently?
No, we had problems putting. You know, yeah, recently, probably in the last 4 or 5 years, he's won it. Duffner.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Well, look at him.
Who?
Look at him.
Yeah.
What he does.
Who?
Duffner. Jason
Oh,
Duffner.
you bet.
Look
Yeah.
what he does.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's a good action.
Oh boy, is it ever!
Yeah. He's
And
one of the better
straight-
iron players for
Yes,
the last
sir.
20 years.
And how good
Oh, and
does he
driver.
drive? Remember,
Yeah,
he drove his
well.
driver hole at
It's just
in
that,
He
Philadelphia. Up
ran
there.
into some family issues. He ran into some
well, I had to
personal
get, he got a
issues.
divorce and
Got a
everything,
divorce,
but
yeah.
still,
And he got about this big around too. And
Oh, he
almost
lost a
his
lot of
game.
weight.
He didn't get, and he looks a little heavier, and now he's actually playing
Yeah, he's
better.
back to his guy.
He looks probably
Yeah.
healthy. Come on, we'll do this
Yeah.
without the we'll and people get dark out there before we're over with. All right, one,
that's true.
2, 3. Hello, everyone. It's the Old Pro, Michael Harmon, coming to you from our website, the Old Pros Table, once again with a chat, and I am honored beyond belief to have these two sitting in front of me. This is Karen and Jim Ferree. I'm sitting on the first hole at Long Cove, and as you know, as we begin I wrap up my time in the Low Country, there's just certain people I wanted to sit down with and have a chat. We got a beautiful bottle of wine here. We've been talking for an hour or so already. And I just wanted to get both of these guys in here. Both are exceptional players. Jim had a storied career on the PGA Tour and the Senior Tour. The logo, I have to throw that in there. The logo of the Senior Tour is you. Yeah, I have to say that. And Miss Karen had a spectacular and continues to play well in women's golf. Both members of the South Carolina Golf Hall of Fame. Extraordinary. First time that's ever happened. And I'm just thrilled to be here at their house here in Long Cove. Just sit down, tell some stories, and talk about their lives. We've been connected since I came to the island in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And have been dear friends. They were members of Secession for many years, and we enjoyed plenty of time there. They were dear friends of Tim Moss, my mentor, and that got us even closer. But thank you for allowing me just to sit down with you for a little bit, and it's wonderful
Our
to
pleasure.
be here with you.
Our pleasure.
Delightful. Now you can read about these people all you want to. You can, I'll rip off a few of their successes and such. But really, we just want to talk about the game. I want to talk about what you guys are doing, your influences on the juniors in the local area, the Jimmy's close to 90 now, still playing as much as he can. And
Much as I can isn't very much.
but it's still good, I'm sure. Always been good.
Still a sweet swinger.
Still a sweet swinger, and Karen does not suck either. So we have, and this is
Tigger.
Tigger. Come on, sweet. And I'll leave him in there. It's nice to see you.
Hey there, Tigger.
Nothing's ever edited here. Okay. Nothing's ever edited. We'll let her wander. I had Anderson the other day. I did Mark Anderson, and his kid came in and gave him a big hug. So there you go. She looks comfortable. Quickly, I'll do Karen first. Ladies first. 67 Carolinas junior champion. 2003 Carolina senior champion. 2002, 2003 Carolina's women's four-ball champion. 97 and 02 stroke play champion for the Women's South Carolina Golf Association. The Women's Golf Association match play championship. 95, 2001, 2008. Women's senior champion 2001, 03, 05, 07, and 11. Extraordinary. Carolina Senior Player of the Year in 2001, 2, and 3. Competed in a lot of events, U.S. Amateur, U.S. Women's, Mid-Am, Senior Am, and so forth. Jimmy, 53 Southeastern Conference champion, 1954 NCAA long drive. I didn't even know they had that. I think you lied on that one. Tour win, 58 in Vancouver. Big one.
Oh, yeah.
A win's a win. That's a big win.
61.
61.
Woo.
61. What round?
Second.
Nice.
Had a nice push.
Jamaica Open in 61. Panama Open in 63. Venezuelan Open in 66. Carolina's PGA champion, 68. PGA champion, 91. Atlanta Classic Bell champion. 23 Super Senior PGA wins. Carolina's PGA Hall of Fame. I joined you on
That's
that
right.
one. Honored to be with you. If I can get anywhere near these guys, I'm good. The 79 PGA Cup team, the 93 Ben Hogan Award winner, which is marvelous, and the Hall of Fame at North Carolina, Big Tar Heel. And of course, we all got in the Low Country Hall of Fame in the last couple of years, which has been phenomenal. We're 40 years plus, all of us in the Low Country, and it's a magnificent place to be. And it's treated us all very well, I would say. What do you say?
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Jimmy, talk first about how you are. People want to know how you are. You've had such a magnificent career. People around the country are going to want to know how you're doing, how you're feeling, playing your golf. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in your life now.
Well, I feel like I'm pretty lucky. I'm 89. That's hard to do. It's hard to get there. I think I probably feel real good for an 89-year-old guy. But if I was 79 and felt like this, I would think maybe they're coming to get me and put me in the ground or something. Something like that. We've all played a lot together, and I can go out and play, and I can make a swing and hit it on the face of the club, and it feels just exactly like it used to, and it just falls out of the air. It won't go
anywhere.
I mean, if it sounds good, feels good, dead. First
I'm beginning to experience that one myself. It's not fun. But you're still getting out.
You know what the deal is? Time wins every game.
Time wins. Yeah. The game always wins too. Time always wins and the game wins.
Yes, it does.
But you've had such a tremendous career and you've had tremendous influence on so many people's lives. I get questions all the time about you, and I can assure you that I've been around him several times over the last several years, and he's just doing extraordinarily well. At 90 years old, you still are close to it. You're getting your licks in,
yep.
And you got Karen pushing you along here.
Thank goodness.
Right.
She's taking good care of you. And Karen, you're still playing. Any competition still, or is that slowed down?
No, that's really slowed down.
You missed
But-
it?
But she's really playing well. She shot 72 the other day.
Nice.
That's a nice score for
That's
a
a good
lady.
It is a nice
Here?
score.
Here?
Here, I play most of my golf here.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm playing at Berkeley Hall.
Yeah.
But most of my golf is here, and I enjoy the course, close to home.
Yeah.
But as far as tournaments with COVID
Yeah.
and the travel and
Taking care of this one.
taking care of Jim at 89, that's fine. I mean, I played a lot of golf,
Yeah.
and I do miss the competition, but you also miss all
scrapper.
the people, the friends that you made
Yeah.
playing golf.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
And seeing them, playing golf with them, the competition, I guess when you know that you don't have a tournament or something to play in,
Play 4.
then, to play for, it's hard to go out there and practice and play.
That's one of
Plus,
the things that,
It's been really hot.
and it has been, but you're exactly right. I don't think people understand, competitors, you can have a tournament 4 months from now and you'll go chip some balls knowing that there's something out there.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't have to be next week. It can be months out.
True.
If there's not anything on the books, you really won't, there's no reason really to work on your game. I mean, going out and playing well, we want to stay sharp to play as well as we can when we play.
Yeah.
But there's a big deal, it's a big deal having something on the books.
Right, but your expectation level does not change, even though you're on
No,
practice.
that's right.
That's the tough part. You'll go out there and you hit the shot and say, "Oh my God, where did that come from?" And so you know that you better go out there and hit a few.
Well, you're so fortunate to have enjoyed what you've enjoyed and enjoyed it together.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, both of us have a love for the game of golf. We're so fortunate to live here at Long Cove. Been here since its inception. Our family's been here. We raised Randy here
Right.
on the island.
Right.
He's doing well. We have a grandbaby who's going to be a year old, Jennings,
Nice.
next week.
Nice.
And life is good.
Very good.
And I can't tell you how much that we've enjoyed the community that we live in.
Yeah.
Low Country, Long Cove, all the clubs that we've been able to play, all the friends we've been able to make
Right.
through golf. And plus, being married too for 33 years.
I was going to ask, it's
that's
over,
right.
Yeah, over 30.
You know,
I can remember Miss Karen before she was Mrs. Ferree.
Yes, sir.
We go back to
I
Karen
was
Shapiro days.
tracking her, boy.
And we talked earlier, you guys have had a chance to travel around the world as well. We all adore the UK golf, the simplicity of the golf, the golf courses themselves, you said the air, the air is so good there.
oh, there's
The
nice and
turf's so
crisp.
good.
When it's hot.
It's just, there's just so much of enjoyment, and you've had a chance to enjoy that for many, many years together.
Oh gosh, we have. And the last time, really, I think it was 2 years ago. We were over and we played Dornick, and we had and a few of the other courses, Brora,
Yeah.
and just had it was more of a travel time
Right.
with another family there, and it was great. But all the golf we played over there,
Yeah.
and I think I just love it. I love the courses, like I
Yeah.
said, the simplicity.
Not only
But when it's really hot here and you go over there,
Right.
the fresh air, the crispness, you don't even mind. I mean, the pouring rain, you get wet, but they've got, like I say, you put your rain suit in the sauna and you go have a drink and you dry off and everything. It's just nice. And the courses are just so different. The golf's different over there.
Yeah.
And the people are wonderful, just like they are at home. I mean, it's not like, they're strangers. They speak English. Like Jim said, the food's getting better.
They speak Scottish and you can't understand
Standard,
them.
but if it's English. So I've got a good story. This is a good story. We're playing Turnberry
Yeah.
It was the first time. We were over there in 1986.
First time Turnberry.
Turnberry.
Or first trip, period.
First trip.
Okay.
First trip, and my first time playing Turnberry. Maybe Jim had
I've
played.
been there before.
But we got to this hole, and the caddy was there, and he said,
She
well,
said,
where?
"Where'd
I
I
said,
go?"
where do I go here? Where do I hit it? And he said, the whip.
The whip.
I said, the whip. The whip. And all of a sudden, I went just like this. I took his chin and said, now say that very slowly. And he said it. And I said, oh, you mean the wee hut. The wee hut. Okay, I've got to go toward the
The
whip.
whip.
The whip out there. So anyway.
It is tough to follow, boy.
You could if
Tough.
there weren't any churches, you couldn't play that. That's the steeples
That's a good one.
everywhere.
I
It's
like
like
that.
still left. That's no trees.
I've got 2 Scottish caddies at the club I'm going to sit down with next week, and I'm going to have subtitles. There's no way that anyone will understand what they're saying.
No.
I'm going to figure out a way to get what they're saying on the bottom of the video in closed caption, because there's no way. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but we'll figure it out.
They would.
The will.
The courses are marvelous. The people are
The
marvelous.
people. It's just the
Oh
whole.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And they love golf.
They love golf, and so many of them, and they're not the big ones. You know, the big ones stand on their own, but these little towns with little 9-holers, the whole town supports it. The whole town works at them. They'll rake the bunkers. They'll fill the divots. They keep it going, and many of them are so provincial they don't ever leave. They won't ever leave the east coast of Scotland. They won't go to see Turnberry. They're perfectly content just playing their golf right there. It's just so. It's so different, and it's so refreshing in so many ways. We don't have to, we can go over there and enjoy playing on average conditions. That never really matters over there. It just matters about playing.
That's it.
That's
Just
right.
playing.
Yeah.
And it is so special. And I know you guys have been over there a good bit. We've talked about it, and we'll talk later about your favorites over there. But there is just a spirit about the place. St. Andrews, you'll see people walking down the street at 2:00 in the morning with their clubs on their shoulders.
Yes.
And they're either going to queue up, or they've played, finished at 10:00 and been drinking for 4 hours, and they're making their way back
Well,
to their hotel room to carry the clubs.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing.
You can finish at 10 or 11 o'clock at
You can
night.
finish at 10 or 11, they've gone to the pub, and now they're making their way home at 1 or 2 o'clock.
Oh yeah, we were at Dorner. The
Yes.
first time we were at
Nothing
Dorner.
like that.
Okay, we had a caddy. He caddied 36, and after he was caddying for us for the first 18, and I said, well, what are you going to do the rest of the day? He said, well, I'm going another loop. I'm going 36, but then I've got a golf match.
You got a match
That's right.
at 6 or 7 o'clock.
Right, so
Yeah.
he's teeing off a day.
Yeah.
He's doing 2 loops,
Okay.
36, and then he's going to play.
Spectacular. And that's what you love about it. That's what we love about the game. And it's just so much more refreshing over there.
They do it. They just go hit it and get it, hit it and get it.
And they do like to compete. They're still competitors, but I think it's probably hurt their upper level competitiveness because they didn't have a lot of practice facilities. That's changing. They're beginning to get more practice, but they just it was just part of their life. It wasn't a life. It wasn't going to be their life.
No, it was a
just
social
part of their
part.
life. It was a social. So I don't know that. Whereas here, we just wanted to be the best we could be at whatever we wanted to do as Americans. Over there, the golf was just something different. Now that's changing. They're beginning to crank out some world class players now, but it's taken a long time. There was not Thompson. No, he was Australian. Peter Thompson. You must have played with him. Did you play?
Oh, with Peter.
Yeah. He must have been a good player. Yeah.
Well, he came
That's
over.
5-time Open champion.
And he came over here when he turned 50, and he won 8 or 9 of our tournaments his first year here.
First year.
Played with us, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And tell you what's very interesting, I played with him a lot. He never had a yardage book,
Right.
and he didn't ask the caddy anything.
There you go.
He played by sight.
Yeah.
He just didn't do it. He wouldn't ask the caddy a question, and he could just see, and he could make it. He could take. It might be a 6-iron, but he could take a 7-iron and knock it down and maybe go a little farther, or take his 5-iron and let up on it. He could just do all that stuff.
Right.
He was really good, and he was, he was a fabulous competitor, and he could chip and putt, and he could just play golf. He could really. He was good.
Good egg. Good guy.
What's that?
Good guy. Was he a good man? Was he fun to be, or kind
he
of quiet?
He got to be a good guy because he was a communist for a while, and then he changed.
Communist.
Yeah,
Nice.
Forget politics.
Yeah.
he changed. He found out
That's
that
good.
didn't work. He
It didn't work.
Yeah, here's the deal. He and Don January and I were paired together, the final group in a tournament out in L.A. It was a short 4-par, and I drove right on the green. He went off the tee with a 3-wood, left it back there for a little wedge shot. He knocked it on the green, made it for a birdie. I 3-putted. We walked off the hole. I lost the hole. Well, anyway, he beat us in that tournament. And January, he had already won 3 or 4 of the tournaments, and he won this one. And January was so mad that he just finished. He didn't hardly slow down and to get his clubs, and jumped in the car. He wouldn't go to the press conference or anything. So they said, well, you come to the conference, come to the press deal. And I went up, and they were asking Peter all kind of questions. And one guy said, well, Peter said, can you explain how it is you play with January and Ferree, and they're out driving you at least 30 yards every hole, and yet you're winning? How do you assess that? He said, oh, I must be mistaken. I always thought golf was a game of how near, not how far.
That's great.
Near
That's
and far. Yeah.
Yeah.
How
How near.
how far.
Well, he had to be special. You just listening to you talk, you've played with so many people. Who was the best you ever saw? I hadn't thought about that until just now. Who was the best player you ever saw?
I guess Nicholas.
Probably Nicholas. Yeah.
Hogan was an incredibly great player, but he got hurt so bad that if he had continued to play, as you remember, he had won all 3 majors and then didn't play in the PGA that year because he couldn't play 36 holes. Barely could play 18.
Right.
But that's when there was a 36-hole deal, and Ben was the best. He had the best ball control of anybody, I thought. He was not near as good a putter as a guy like Nicholas was.
Right.
He wasn't as long as Snead when he was playing Snead, but he could beat Snead on those U.S. Open courses because they were too tight. Sam couldn't figure that out. And Ben was one of those people that was a little bit like Nicholas. He out-prepared everybody else.
Out-prepared.
Yes, he was ready to play. He knew exactly how he wanted to play every hole because he would go early and play. I remember one year we were playing in Detroit, I guess, or Chicago, and back in those days, the clubs had control of the golf course more than the USGA did. And he got up there playing a couple of weeks ahead of the tournament, and they said, well, Mr. Hogan, what do you think? Will they be able to shoot par up here? He said, oh yeah, this course is playing really easy. So what did they do?
Playing well.
They went to watering the rough, not watering the greens. And by the time they'd see it off, the rough was this hard, and half of the greens were just like this.
Playing right into his hand.
Yeah, over.
How about Snead?
Who?
Snead.
Oh, he was better than anybody.
Yeah.
Except Hogan on certain for opens. His record was
Yeah.
Incredible. How many, he won 76 tournaments
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah. Still chasing him.
he? Oh, he was really good. He was a big, strong guy, wonderfully coordinated, and competitive like hell,
Yeah.
and loved money.
Right.
He liked to win better than anything. He was a wonderful athlete, you know,
Yeah.
run like the wind.
Yeah.
He could play the trumpet. He was a good dancer, you know, and all that stuff. And you know, he could play all kind of sports. He was good. It's
He said he was double jointed, couldn't he? He could.
Well, yeah, he never bent his knee. He'd walk over, and you know, the ball would be down the hole. He'd walk over, lean in, get it out, never bend his knees. He just he'd kick the door
He
down.
put his foot up in the top of the
Yeah,
door.
that's what Jim always talked
Yeah, he could
about.
do that, and he did it when he was really old. That's when he and Arnold tricked all the people into it that they didn't think he could do it, and he walked at the Masters, and they all got to betting. And Sam walked right through there, and then he broke the door down and kicked
Tell me, I had in my notes, I didn't have any of that. I had in my notes, you know, my name, I'm the same age as the sons of Claude Harmon.
Yeah.
And so not everyone, anyone that didn't have a real high golf IQ thought I was one of the boys. So I'd hear about Claude all the time.
Yes.
Did you run across him much? I've heard so many stories about him. Must have been a real character. Did you?
Well, he was. He was a very good player, a real good teacher, and a great storyteller.
Good storyteller.
And he was just an outstanding people guy. Yeah, people loved him. He'd finish working and go into men's locker room and listen to stories and tell lies with the rest of the guys. Have a drink and and Claude hired good young men, and most of them he brought up from Texas.
Right.
And that kind of stuff. You know how to say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, all that.
Right.
And he always had those people, and he just.
That was Dave Mark. That was one of them.
Oh.
Jay Levine,
Aber.
Well, yeah, it was Jay, but Jay, the one that died of prostate cancer, my good friend. He and his brother, both of them worked for Claude at times. I'll say his name in a minute.
Yeah, Lionel.
But he had good people. Rod Funseth worked for him.
Yeah.
And Claude never really was happy with Rod because Rod wouldn't pay much attention to him, helping him with his game. And Rod had kind of a little different swing, but he came out on the senior tour and played really well.
Yeah.
But Claude was not.
He didn't play that many tournaments. He didn't. I mean, he won the Masters, but Claude had the job at Winged Foot in Seminole.
Yes.
So he'd pop out and play every now and then, but he really didn't play.
Yeah, he was a good player.
He was more of a club pro with
those things, and
yeah.
he was a wonderful teacher and a fabulous bunker player. Because if you're not a fabulous bunker player at that club, you just are in trouble.
Yeah.
They're deep, playing those greens like that, and.
He did like his good. He hired good players. I heard a funny story. I've got something here. I heard a funny story about him. He was driving into Winged Foot one day, and he had a young assistant that he had hired. He hadn't seen him much. He hadn't seen him play much, but he knew a little bit about him. And so he's driving into their Winged Foot, and the driving range is over to the right. And he pulls his big old stretch caddy over. He always had like a stack of hundreds this big on him.
That's right.
And he said he goes over there to watch this kid hit some balls. He hadn't seen him hit any balls yet. Well, the kid's pissing in his pants, because now he's out here. Claude's watching him. He's hitting it all over the lot, and Claude gets over there and he watches him hit a few balls, and he hits something. He just clanks something out there, and Claude goes, ooh, ooh, ooh. no. And another one, oh my God, that's horrible. He said, son, let me tell you something. He reached back in his pocket, gets a handkerchief. He said, I can assure you that if you don't start hitting it any better than that, you will be doing this in a week.
Oh, God. I didn't
I
know the
heard
job at the
so
club.
many stories about him. You mentioned Augusta, and you know, Mr. Jones was my hero.
Yes.
Did you run across him much? Did you ever spend any time with him?
Never saw him hit a ball. My dad watched him play a lot because, you know, he'd play at Pinehurst in the North and South every year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He was crazy about Bobby Jones. And he told me about, he was watching him one day, you know, they're playing match play. And Bobby was a long hitter.
Yeah, he was a big hitter.
Yeah. And he was driving with his 3-wood. And this guy's out driving him about 10, 12 yards every hole. And when they came in, then my dad said he and a couple of other guys went over to him and asked him, said, Bobby, why were you hitting your 3-wood out there and not letting that guy out drive every hole? He says, because I'm going to hit a good shot to the green, and then he's got to stand there and know his ass is in trouble.
I know that's what he
I'm
said.
going to play first and hit it right up there and lay the pressure on him.
He played back
Yeah,
just so
right.
he could
Yeah.
play first.
So he
down.
could play first.
Brilliant.
Put the heat on the other guy.
That sounds like something Nicholas
Well,
would
it sounds
do.
like
Match
when Sergio and Tiger played in the final round over there on that good Scottish course. I don't think it was the old course. It was someone that was really good course. And Tiger was hitting his 3-wood off the tee, and Sergio was hitting it up there 10 or 15, 20 yards in front of him. And that guy, of course, these greens were just like this. You couldn't hardly do anything with it. And then Tiger's such a great iron player. He's back there hitting that thing way up in the air with an 8 or 9 iron or something. Right on
Stop
that.
that.
Yeah, and he just let Sergio drive past him every hole. And he's such a great iron player, and you could choke him to death.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hitting him in there like that.
Same thing.
Yeah.
But he wanted to play in first.
Yeah, I want to shoot
Okay.
first.
How about Tiger? Tell me what were your thoughts of Tiger?
He was absolutely magnificent.
Magnificent.
God.
Yes. Finest thing I ever saw. Now, I didn't see much of Nicholas. I missed, the TV, missed. I missed him by a little. I mean, I got to see some of it, but I got to see all of Tiger. We'd want to watch him play. When he was in the hunt, we would want to watch him play.
Yeah.
I know you would too. He just played so beautifully. He flighted his ball so beautifully.
Yeah. I didn't really particularly like him when he first came out. I thought his father was awfully dominating and requiring so much in the tournament and stuff like that because Tiger was playing his son. And I didn't particularly like, and I thought he changed golf a whole lot. The big difference was the deal I told you about Bob Charles making a nice putt to win the Senior Open and tipping his hat and doing this. And Tiger started all this, people used to maybe make him go, or something like, like this, but he started that awful fist pumping, and all that kind of stuff. I thought that I didn't like it, and I still don't like it.
All right.
It's just too much in your face type of stuff.
Correct.
For golf.
But you got past that because you were watching Genius.
What?
You were watching Genius. You got past that to some degree because you just were watching something so special. You couldn't help but admire it.
I couldn't believe just how well he could play, or even if he wasn't playing any good, how he could drive himself to play all those goofy shots and stuff and pitch and putt. I remember when he beat Rocco, that was one of the luckiest wins of all time.
Yeah.
He just kept doing that
Just
stuff.
willed himself in.
Right.
Yeah, y'all were
Just
close
make
with
him putt.
Rocco, weren't you? Yeah.
Make him putt,
At
yeah.
that time, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I watched that ball, but he putted it on 18. I thought, went right on in the hole like that, and he bladed it out of one of the bunkers, hit the top of the flagpole, fell down in the hole.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he lived that way, and he could just win and win and win. How many strokes did he win by the Open out there? 15 strokes?
Yeah. At
Pebble Beach.
Pebble
Pebble,
Beach,
yeah.
right.
That's the most
Yeah.
devastating
Yeah.
dominance
Yeah.
there's ever been on a golf course.
I can remember talking to a lot of the old club pros in the Carolinas through the years, and there was very few people they would want to watch play golf.
Yeah.
They were in the twilight, they were in the 70s and 80s of their careers. Most of them still working to some degree, but they would disappear if that kid was on TV to go watch him play golf.
Yes.
Because you just never saw. We just had not seen much like that.
No.
Nicholas worked his way into wins. This kid would just dominate. He would just.
If he was
blow
anywhere
away
near the
field.
top, you felt like he was going to win.
He was going to win.
Yeah.
He knew he was going to win.
Right.
He knew. It was interesting that he never came back. Remember that stat?
Who's that?
Tiger. He
Came
never came from behind to win a major. That's an odd. He won 15, 16, 15.
Yeah.
Oh, he
That's an odd stat.
Yeah.
He was leading the entire way, but to have never, I mean, even just one back.
And
I
until
mean, you won a lot of tournaments. You
who
came.
won, right, but
you-
he won the
He won a lot
PGA
of
until
turn from behind, but not a wager.
not a
Yeah.
major.
No, yeah.
And then who was it? I can't remember his name. Was he from
Oh.
Korea or whatever? Whoever won the that PGA.
Oh,
It was at Hazeltine.
Hazelton. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and that was the first time that on a Sunday
He had lost.
he had lost.
He had actually lost, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's when he hit a 5-wood to 5 feet on the last hole or something to cut him. Yeah, I always thought that was a bit of an anomaly, but that's the game, isn't it? There's all sorts of anomalies.
That's what usually happens to a lot of people, but it
Palmer.
never happened to him. Yeah.
Palmer never won
when he played for
PGA.
Casper. Oh yeah.
You know, there's some weird
Mickelson, the US Open.
Mickelson in the Open, 6 seconds or something like that. That's weird.
How about this? It's the Colonial in Fort Worth, okay?
Yeah.
Jacques got an invitation to play when he was a senior in college. And he came down and played, and he and I were tied for last place after 3 rounds we played together, okay? He still he was mad. Now the next year he came back and he had turned pro, and he had played in about 3 or 4 tournaments and he had won money and all of them, and he won $37 in New Orleans to keep his thing going, okay? Now, we laughed about when we teed off last to play, that was something ago. And now he's a pro, and we're paired together now the last day, and Johnny Pott and Freddie Hawkins and somebody were
One of
leading
those
the
guys.
tournament. And we were about the third from the last to go off. We were in good shape, you know. And we played, and we were both playing pretty well. And we were both doing really good. And he had a shot on the 4th hole when he did it. I said, "Oh Jesus, I can't believe this." It's a dog leg to the left, and he drove it through the fairway into the bunkers on the right. And there's a giant tree about halfway between him and the hole, you know, a giant tree. And he walked out there and took some kind of club and hit it straight up in the air over that tree onto the green. And I thought, Jesus, you can't do that. And then we kept playing. And the 10th hole, 10th, 11, the Colonial of par 5.
Yeah.
And you play up there, and you're on the green, and the Trinity River goes right here, and right there is the tee, number 9. And we look down there, and there's Johnny Pott and Harold Palmer and somebody else on that tee, and looked at the scoreboard, and all of them went over par, and Jack and I like 1 under par. And Jack looks at me and says, he looks about half cross-eyed, and we look, Hey, Jimmy, I said, you know, one of us can win this tournament if we just keep playing good. I said, yeah. Well, I thought he was playing good till he saw that sign and he thought he could win.
Boom.
And you know, I was a long driver at that time, and he started out driving about 25 miles. Yeah, you know,
Me
boom, pshaw, boom, making putts, doing stuff. And we go to the last hole now at the Colonial, and we are tied, he and I. He had a crummy shot. He had a 3-wood off the tee and knocked it over in the crap to the right. Remember, you've seen Freddie Couples, that
Right.
shot that,
Right.
Phil showed him playing that shot from over to the right on that hole. Well, I hit it right down the middle. And he goes over there and looks around and gets to looking up over those trees and everything and takes something and rips it out of that rough up over those trees. And he's about this far short of the green, and the pin is up in the back left. So he's 50 or 60 feet from the hole.
A lot of movement too.
Well, I drove it out there perfect, and I'm standing there. I got an 8-iron to the green, and I hooked everything in. And the pin was over in the kind of the left center of the green. And I hit this big, beautiful 8-iron. This drawing, now it's drawing, it's right on the pin, and now it's time to start saying, come down. Well, I landed on the green, and I rolled off the green about this far. I'm about 25 feet in the hole, and Jack is 60.
Amen.
He puts like this.
Yeah.
From that far, like he always did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, well, I can win this damn tournament. I've got 20 footer. I put it right in the hole. And I gave it a good hard hit and ran it about 4 feet by and missed it coming back.
No. Oh.
So we finished playing.
That hurts.
And, you know, everything's fine. I'm happy. I won a lot of money and had a good day. And we both shot low scores and stuff like that on that hard course. I was a little disappointed that I felt like I should win that hole and he shouldn't have, and that was a big deal, but he didn't. So now I get in the car to go back. I'm in the car with Lyle Leber, J.A. Burr, and Gardner Dickinson. Now these are all Hogan. I mean, they're really Hogan guys.
Yeah.
And they said, how did Fat Jack play today? And I said, he played really good. And Gardner said, hell, he can't play good. His arm's going up in the air like this. I said, yes, he did. He played really good. They said, I can't believe it. I said, you didn't play with him. You wouldn't believe how good he could play. And they said, no, he can't last with that. I said, I'll tell you what, we're all good friends. And I'm a pretty good player. If I will caddy for him, if he'll give me 20% of his winnings, and I'm gonna win more money than you guys do. I said, wherever you think you're gonna finish on the money list this year, you're gonna be one shot, one place back of that. Yeah, we played that, this was like April or May. What happened 2 months from then?
You won.
Won at Oakmont.
Won at Oakmont. Yeah. 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 He was just better. Is he the best of all time? Yeah. You agree, Karen?
It's either he or Tiger.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Either one of them.
Yeah, I mean, Tiger's in the equation. There's no doubt about it. Given the, a pretty strong field, he had to beat a lot of young bucks that,
Yeah.
Nicklaus had to beat 15, 20 people. Tiger may have had to beat 30
Tiger's
people.
really good.
It's still a small number to win
Yeah.
a major. It's not the whole field. No one's going to be a flash in the pan for an Open. That's pretty hard to do. But
Right.
but
I'll say this, if Tiger hadn't have messed around and had that wreck,
Yeah.
got hurt, and then had to lay off, and his wife left him, his children left him, the people didn't like him very much.
Yeah.
And if that hadn't happened, I mean, he'd have obliterated all his records.
it was impressive to watch. But with Nicklaus, it's the 16 or 18 seconds, and the 18 or
I mean,
19
he was
thirds. I mean,
Look,
incredible.
if he had been playing with a Spalding dot or a Titleist, he would have won probably every one of those tournaments he finished second in.
true. Bad ball.
There was a
Oh,
bad ball.
Yeah, bad ball.
You
That was
could,
the old Turney, or what was it? What was it?
but he played with
McGregor.
Was it
McGregor.
McGregor ball.
Turney
Turney.
or something.
That's
Yeah.
what it is,
We played
McGregor.
in Pensacola one year. And my friend Brett Glenn loves to tell this story. We're playing along there, and now I could drive the ball really far down there because it's flat ground. I could make it run,
You were
and
wrong.
Nicholas hit it like this into the wind, and I did mine, and I could kind of keep up with him there. And we're over there about the 6th or 7th hole, I can't remember which. And there's 2 balls out there, and we're playing a twosome for some reason. And Jacques just walked right on by this one ball and up to the next one. And he turned around and said, "I'm really sorry. This is your ball, Jim. I didn't mean to walk by my ball like that, but this is yours and that one's mine." When we finished playing, this is before they had, you didn't have these kind of phones, or then they finally had phones in the locker room. The players could call over everywhere.
Yeah.
You had to pay a regular phone. And he asked me, said, he went over the phone to this pay phone there, and he said, "I don't have a quarter. You got a quarter?" I said, "Yeah, here." Put it in the pay phone, and he called McGregor. And he got the guy, I forgot, I love the guy, I'll say his name maybe, but anyway, he was in charge of the staff and really a nice guy. And he got him on the phone. He says, "Look, I'll tell you what I want. I want 3 dozen balls. I don't want any balls that are 85 compression and 100 compression and 90 compression and all that stuff. I want 3 dozen balls, and they're all 90 compression. I don't care how many balls you got to go through, but you got to test them all.
Right.
And I want 3 dozen 90 compression balls, and I want them by time for me to play next week. I'm not playing with any of these balls.
Yeah.
They're, some of them are 100, others are 85, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't care if you want to make all of them 100 or all of them 90, but I want them all 95.
So,
but just
yeah.
so they're all the
The
same,
same. Yeah.
then I can play.
Yeah. There were a lot of bad balls then. You know who got hurt by that probably as much as anybody is Norman. I think Norman would have won 2 or 3 more majors. He was playing that old Strata.
What did he play?
Spalding Strata.
Oh,
You
yeah.
played the Strata.
Yeah.
Well, he used to have to fly it 30 feet past the hole to bring it back. He was spinning it so much. If he had been playing a Titleist ball, I guarantee you he would have won a couple other majors.
Probably would.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, those were bad. And I didn't know Nicholas was playing a tourney. I didn't really think about what ball he would have been
No,
playing.
he played with, McGregor ball.
Yeah. Did he play that his entire career? Did he switch over?
No.
Like I played the Open at Baltusrol in '80. That was his last one, I think, or near his last. No, he won in '86 at Augusta. But would he have been playing Titleist then, or would he still been playing McGregor ball?
Oh, no, I think he'd have probably been playing with the Titleist. or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
So it was in those early years he was playing a bad ball.
He had to play with it because they're paying him all the money.
Sure,
and,
sure.
Oh, he was good. I was from Augusta.
Yeah, yeah.
I followed him
Yeah,
all
that's
the
right. You
time
grew
at
up
the,
there, didn't you?
followed him
Yeah.
all the time at the Masters.
Yeah,
I mean, he was, and Willie Peterson was his caddy.
yeah.
And I just remember watching him play. And I think one year, wasn't he in a playoff with Nicholas? And wasn't it
Augusta?
Tommy Jacobs? There was a 3-way playoff. I thought it was Nicholas, Tommy Jacobs, and Gabe Brewer.
Yeah.
I thought. We had to skip school and went and watched that on Monday.
That's right.
But
Did
he
Brewer win
was
that
just
one?
awesome. I'm
Did
not.
Brewer win
I'm
that
not. I'm not
The
really.
Brewer won a Masters.
He
didn't
did win a Masters.
That may have been one
He
he
did.
won.
He had 107 putts.
107
for
pounds.
the Masters.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh. How about Palmer? Did you go see Palmer? Was he ahead of you? He was too young for you.
No,
But I mean, out of
not
custom,
at
when
all.
you're coming up, do you
Right,
you go,
right.
He was a king.
Well, I don't know.
Well, you
I
may
think
miss
when
him.
I was, yeah,
you may
yes.
miss him by a little bit. We're not
Right.
saying that.
But my parents, I remember them going and
Right.
seeing when Arnold and Gary play,
Right.
and then I think Player won that one. But Arnold, I mean, he won, and he was always a favorite.
He was
At
always.
Augusta. I don't care what Jack did.
Yeah.
You know.
There must have been a million stories about Palmer.
What's that?
Palmer. Must have been a million stories about Arnie.
Palmer who?
Arnold Palmer.
Palmer Michael?
No, Arnold Palmer. Well, we
Palmer
saw
Maples.
him. We actually saw him when we went with 4 couples to Florida. Remember? In his last days.
Arnold's just good. He was
Good.
good, and he knew
And everybody loved
He
him.
knew
He
how
had a
to
great
do-
personality.
Yeah.
he had all the right stuff. His dad raised him good, and Mark McCormick did more. He did about as much for golf as Arnold or anybody else did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was their manager of all.
Right.
Yeah, and he taught those guys all how to. He talked to them about how you're supposed to act and what you're supposed to say and all that kind of stuff, and told them, look, you guys don't need to be enemies. We can make a lot of money if you guys look like you like one another, and you should, and that kind of stuff. It'll really make golf go, and you can do all this kind of stuff. Mark was in Maryland when I was at Chapel Hill, and I knew him from that deal. And he was a brilliant damn guy, boy.
Yeah. And so he pulled them together.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I
Big
knew
three,
he was
the big
always
three.
the big three. He pulled them. He
Yeah,
pulled Player
he
into
had
that mix as
he
well.
had some other people that he was managing, and then he was managing 2 or 3 of the greatest skiers in the world at the same time. And he was brilliant. He wrote that book, What They Don't Teach You at the Harvard Law
Business-
School.
Harvard
Yeah.
Business School.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a nice college player, and he understood that business would. You know, we were doing Monday outings for $100 and stuff like that, and he understood that business, if they could entertain their customers with good players and stuff, that they would be willing to pay good money
Right.
to do that. He knew that business had money and how much money they spent running ads in newspapers and stuff, and it didn't make any difference sometimes. He was very instrumental in getting that going. I went with him for a while, but I was not very happy because he was wanting me to, play someplace on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I wanted to, and then I got to go get in the car and drive to the tournament and stuff. And I wasn't making that much extra money, so after a while, I just dropped out. It was,
It's mainly about the big 3.
Those
I
guys.
think.
Yeah. Well, they did. They
So-
certainly. That was the advent of TV. You know, TV was beginning to take off in the '60s and '70s. So you began
the
to.
big three.
You know, the little match shell,
Shell
the Wonderful
Wonderful
World.
World of Golf.
They were really beginning to that's where I saw. We were talking about Miller Barber earlier. I remember Barber being on several of those, and I loved watching him play. You know, he was and Julie Boras. You'd see him.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, you just had TV that just brought Palmer especially into the living room, and he was.
And when he went and played in the British Open,
right?
yeah.
He resurrected
that
the
was
British
great.
Open.
Oh yeah, and that was great for golf. It's great for golf over there. Then people want. I think the tourism started.
Right.
The courses got better over there.
Right.
They got sprinkler systems and
They began to figure out the economics themselves.
Right.
They got really hurt over there this year. I've talked to several of the pros, and the members have enjoyed it because they've had a full run of their golf courses in the UK, Prestwick, Troon, St. Andrews,
Right.
but there's no guest, so there's
No guest
no
fees.
revenue.
Right.
Yes,
The
true.
revenues hurt them but hopefully that'll get back.
Do you know what ball Hogan played with in the British Open when he won it? Well, you know, most people were playing with
A little small.
Dunlops and what was the other ball at that time? And you know,
Slazenger.
it's small ball, but Dunlop, and there was another one.
Oh yeah. Pinfold.
Right, the
I don't know,
pinfold.
it was another ball from over there someplace.
Yeah.
And the greens, as you know, and over there are hard, right? So they played with soft balls, because that would, you know. Hogan got Titleist to make him Titleist 100s. Small ball.
Small ball. Really? I never heard that.
He could stop it. He had a hard ball playing a hard green,
Right.
which would make a mark.
Right.
And you know, he could make his ball go up high with a lot of spin, and he could shoot the ball in there. He didn't have to play bump and runs.
No.
And he could just stand there and boop, and that little old hard ball would make a little dent in those greens. He could keep it on the green, and those Dunlops and those other balls would go boing, boing, boing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bouncing in. Yeah, that was the only one he played.
yeah,
Carnoustie.
yeah.
That was
Played.
the only one he ever played.
Played, and you know,
Wow, that's
when
cool.
I started going,
That was the only one he ever played. I didn't know
they
that.
made me some small balls to go play with. But I got those hard ones too.
Yeah.
And but he killed him with that, and that changed the whole game over there. Those boys found out that you can't stop the ball on these greens if you learn how to knock it up in the air. You don't play low hooks because that's what they
That's
play
all they
over there.
played. Right.
And you get a ball that doesn't go going, going,
Yeah. Yeah.
going.
How was the small ball? I never played a small ball.
Well, it was fun to drive because it went straight.
Was it easier to putt?
No,
Chip?
no.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Well, you take a ball this big around and
Yeah.
roll it over a bumpy surface. It'll bounce a little bit. You take one that's this big around, you wouldn't even notice a bumpy surface.
Right.
And that's the deal with a small ball. It hits all those little places and jigs and jags it, and you can't pitch it with much spin on it either.
Plus, there's a smaller surface to play to pitching as well.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a smaller ball.
yeah.
Yeah, I always. Now they eventually
Well, see, the
disallowed
small
that.
ball was fine for them because they never tried to play high pitch
Yeah,
shots. They
right.
putted
Then they
10,
came over
15
here.
yards off the green,
Right.
chipping runs.
And it cut wind.
Yeah,
It cut the wind better.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Really
I
good.
mean, it would cut the wind, that's for sure.
You go down to Bogota, Colombia, play, and they all play the small ball and the drive with 3 woods because all you want to do is make it go up in there and it never comes down. And then they play good. Those guys in Bogota, and then you take them over to Caracas and it's still pretty high. Or you go to wherever anywhere that you get down. Bogota is really high.
Yeah, I played there once.
They can't finish.
Yeah.
That nice little high draw with that 3 wood is going like this. I remember that guy that was, they had a real good player that was, I mean, he was really good. I think his name was Brown or something like that. And he came over,
Englishman?
whatever, he came over and he got it, Ben gave him an invitation to come play. And I thought, well, this guy will really be good over here. You know, out there by there when the wind blows and all that stuff. We had to hit that big ball. He couldn't finish.
Didn't like the big
Couldn't
one.
finish.
Eric Brown.
Huh?
Eric Brown.
Could be. That could have been his
Yeah,
name.
he's
He
one
was
of
a
the top
good player
players.
over there. Yeah.
He was
He-
one of the great
England
Ryder
or-
Cup.
Yeah,
Englishman.
he couldn't finish.
Nasty guy. He was a tough nut.
Yes.
He had the best record. I think he still has the highest winning percentage in Ryder Cup singles,
Really?
or winning percentage, maybe in total with matches and
Yeah,
singles.
could have been.
Oh, he was a tough. There's some great stories about him. But he was a.
But if you're a small ball player and you're hitting a nice slight draw or a nice fade, when you put that big club ball in your hand, You are a big time hooker and a wild slicer.
Tell me Eric Brown reminds me of a story with Tommy Bolt. Tell me about Tommy Bolt.
What about him?
Your greatest story.
What's the best story?
The
Tommy
best
Bolt
story.
Tommy Bolt.
Best one of all time.
All right, good.
I mean, there's a million Tommy.
That just popped in the mind. I love it.
There's a million Tommy Bolts. There's a million Tommy Bolt stories out there. But I was involved in the best one that's ever been. We're playing in Philadelphia. I forgot White Marsh. Playing at White Marsh.
White Marsh. Everybody like White Marsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, me and Tommy and somebody are paired. And we're out there playing, and we don't have a standard barrel. And there goes Dave Marr. He's got a standard barrel, you know, and Tommy's looking over there, and he's pissing and moaning. And look at little Davey Marr. He's got a standard barrel just because he won the PGA one time, and his cousin is Jackie Burke. He gets a standard there, and here we are out playing. Nobody knows who I am. He's really upset. I'm telling you, he's upset. So when we get through, he says, "I'll fix that." And the clubhouse was an old house or something. Had beautiful wooden steps, you know, going up this. We got those shoes, those shorts, but boom, 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 knocking splinters up, went up there. And he came back. He said, "We'll have a standard barrel tomorrow, boys. We're okay." So now we go out there and we're playing again. Now we're playing, and we're playing pretty good. And play the front nine, we're doing good. And we're doing pretty good on the back nine. And it's the 13th or 14th or 15th hole or something like that. Really a nice 3-par. You're here and there's a big valley and the green's over there sitting about the same height you are, excuse me. And the road is right beside of it. I'm not crying. I've got my eyes are terrible. I'm getting all this damn treatment from housing. And the road is right close. I mean, really close. And I'm a hooker. I mean, the people are just standing there on the road, on the leaning against the fence, and they'd spit on the ground. And like I say, this tee's here's a big valley. The green's up here, and it's about 25 or 30 feet down over here. If you miss, it's not a bucket. You just fall off. You go down there at that bottom and try to pitch onto the green, not knock it out of bounds. Coming back. So we get to that green, and I've got the honor. And I said, "God dang, I said, okay, I'm going to get up my nerve. I'm just going to start it out at the street, hook it, let it. Then I hit a big whooping hook in there. And Tommy couldn't see very good at that late night. And the people clapped and everything. And now it's his turn, and he's talking to the caddy about what to hit and what's the wind doing. And, you know, he's standing there like this. All right, son, where's that pin? I can't wait. Where's the pin? He said, "Mr. Bolt, it's in the center of the green, but it's right there, toward the back of the green." How far is it again? Tell me again. The caddy told him again. Tommy's looking around. It's not in wind, is it? No, not in any wind. He said, okay. So he picked out a club. I'm going to tell you, he picked out a damn club now. And he starts it right at the left edge of the green. He goes, right at the pin, and it lands, and it rolls up about this far from the hole. And Tommy said, "Where is it? Where'd he go?" And the caddy said, "It's really close to the hole." He looked at me and said, "Jim, where's that ball?" I said, "Tom, it's 3 or 4 feet in the hole." "It is?" He said, "Well, I'm looking up there, and I didn't hear any hands clapping, and I don't hear so good, but I noticed it. and I didn't see any little hands doing like this. He said, where's that ball? We said, it's 3 or 4 feet in the hole. He said, well, tell me something. Are those real people, or is that a painted Hollywood scene? And we said,
He wanted a reaction.
he said, well, if they're real people and they can't climb for that one, they'll never see old Tom hit another one. Son, go pick that ball up. I'm going.
He walked off.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. But they can't clap for that one.
No,
You're not going to see old Tommy hit another
he
one.
said some bad words in there because I don't know what to do. He said, are those real people, or is that a painted Hollywood scene? I can't hear very good, but I didn't see any little hands.
There's so many good stories about him. There's so many. He was a piece of work.
Oh,
Ooh.
we were playing pretty good. He just left.
He just walked off because they didn't respond the way he wanted.
No,
That's
no.
beautiful.
Jim always talked about Tommy Bolt's hands.
How big and hard
Oh,
they were.
Big.
man.
Oh, they were
Yeah.
big and hard. And Randy was always telling me, Dad, your hands hard and big. I said, well, we're gonna. One of these days, I'm going to introduce you to Tommy Bolt, and I want you to shake his hand. And he did. He's a young boy. I don't know how
There
old
was a
he
baby almost. Tommy
Huh?
Bolt. Yeah, maybe once.
He was old enough to
Right.
know to shake hands and stuff like that. And he shook hands with Tommy Bolt. When he walked away, he said, Dad, his hand is much harder than yours. You know, he's always saying, my hand is hard. Bolt's hand was a little much bigger than mine, and hard as a brick. Hitting all those balls, you know, he had the most beautiful grip you've ever seen in your life.
Really?
Oh, God, yes. He just put his hands on that club so pretty every time.
He was fiery.
He could
He was
really play
fiery.
good, but he just could not accept any adversity, and he didn't give a goddamn if it went in the hole and he had hit it thin and it landed short and jumped up and ran in the hole. He's liable to pick up and quit.
Perfectionist.
It embarrassed him to hit a bad shot.
That Eric Brown that you talked about
Yeah.
earlier, he and Bolt went to it tooth and nail during some late 50s, early 60s Ryder Cups. There's some phenomenal stories about the two of them because he was just as tough as Bolt, and they just went toe to toe, and there's some classic.
There wasn't any camaraderie there.
No, they weren't there. They were there to do one thing. They would just beat the hell out of the other guy. That's all
Yeah.
they cared about.
Yeah.
And so Bolt ran into a similar. I think Brown. He may have been a Scotsman. I think he was English though. But I've heard stories about the two of them hooking up, and they didn't like one another.
You know,
at
Mike,
all.
people that are pretty old don't understand some things that, you know, the Ryder Cup matches for a while. Where's that cat? Yeah.
On her back.
Yeah. The Ryder Cup matches were really one-sided
Yeah.
for a long time.
Right.
And then the other people got good. The reason they were so one-sided, they killed all the players in World War II.
World War II.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You know, they were in the war
Interesting.
2 or 3 years before us, and they were, you know, they were fighting and getting bombed in the golf courses. You know, they built those big things in the golf courses where they couldn't bring the gunners in. Well, Max Faulkner was on the Ryder Cup team when they played at Pinehurst, on Pinehurst number 2, and we were seniors in college, and they invited us down to be marshals because, you know, they didn't rope it off. We just carried a big rope and walked down the fairway with this big rope so the people couldn't come past up, and the players walked ahead of us. And Sam Snead played Max Faulkner down there on number 2, and we must have at least maybe 100 people watching, and the little guy, Dale Reese, when he's a good player, and he played Hogan, and they might have had another 50 or 75 people. They didn't have 5,000 people in the matches.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing this with Snead and Faulkner, and
How old are you? How old are you?
I was 20 or 21 years old. I was in college.
Yeah.
And my whole golf team, we were walking a hole in a row.
Yeah.
And watching Sam Snead play 36 holes against Max Faulkner. Well, Max was a Messerschmitt. He flew the Messerschmitt was a German plane. He flew that wonderful fighter plane that the British had for 3 years.
Yeah.
He's up there every night fighting German fighter planes and stuff.
You know, I've never heard anybody say that.
Well, you know, he won.
They
He's
lose
always
a
said that.
generation of players.
Jim
there.
always said
Remember,
that.
he won the British
Yeah. he went
Open
on.
it's a good course over there in Ireland. The one we played.
Royal Port Rush.
Royal
Port Rush.
Port Rush. Yeah.
Yeah, he won it there. That's the last time they had it in Ireland, and he won it.
Yeah.
And he was a magnificent specimen of a man like Snead. And Snead was just too good.
Right.
It was cold, and but nobody could hit the ball real far back then. Nobody, Sam could knock it on their number 10 and 2.
Right.
And number 11, that great damn long 4 par hole.
Yeah.
Max was hitting a 3-wood to the green, and Sam's hitting a 3-iron. Sam knocked it on the green, won that hole. And they were having a good match, but finally the damn course was just, Sam was hitting, 5-irons, and Max was hitting 3-irons, and Sam could reach some of the holes that he could reach.
Right.
It was, it was cold out there that we were playing, and Max Faulkner was playing short sleeves, and we were out there shivering like crazy, and Sam's got on a sweater. But people didn't realize that they didn't have any players left. They all got killed in the war.
I've never heard that. I mean,
You
that makes
think about
perfect
that.
sense, too.
They were in
It
the
really
war.
does.
They were in the
Makes
war 2 or
perfect
3 years before we were. So
Stone.
the golf courses, they're all been drafted, and they killed all their players, and even they hadn't killed them, they didn't play any. And it took a long time for them to rebuild
Generate.
the golfers in Britain, England, Ireland, and Scotland, and then they threw in Europe
Right.
into the Ryder Cups.
Right.
And so it was a whole different thing.
Right.
I mean, the Ryder Cup that's just silly.
It's something
For
else.
so long it was out of balance, but they've caught up nicely.
Oh, they're really good. We can't hardly beat them.
Was Jacqueline the first Englishman to come along?
Who?
Jacqueline.
Tony Jacqueline.
Oosterhouse. I'm trying to think of who would have been the next generation of English players or UK players who came along after World War.
Monty.
Well, he's old. I mean, that's further down. Montgomery.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Jacqueline was before him.
Oh yeah.
I'm just trying to think of who would have been that next generation of player. Jacqueline must have been it.
There weren't hardly any.
There weren't many.
I've got my book that.
I guess Bob Charles didn't play. Was he
Well,
from
he's
New
awesome.
Zealand?
He was
He's
awesome.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah,
He was in New Zealand.
Before we get out of players, I want to talk about modern day golf. Tell me about Trevino. Trevino, when I was out there, early '80s, he was unequivocally considered the best ball striker there was at the time.
He was.
Yeah, a bit of an enigma. What was? Tell me about Trevino. He was something special.
He had his own swing.
Right. Oh, we were talking about with
He was.
Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
He was an intense practicer. People don't know it, but he was a runner back when people didn't run.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he was an intense practicer. And he had his wedges fixed different than most of us had them. He could, because his swing was different.
Right.
And he was a great putter, a great chipper, drove in the fairway nearly every time and was plenty long because it didn't make any difference if you were hitting a 7-iron and he was hitting a 5-iron, he's going to knock it inside of you anyway.
Yeah.
And if he didn't, he's going to get it up and down and put it in there. And he had the guts of a burglar. I mean, he was not afraid. He played for money when he didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And he was determined to be good. He was, when he went on, you know, when he went down to, when he lived in Palm Springs and lived someplace before, Lee went to bed at 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. And he's up first thing in the morning practicing and playing.
Didn't really go out at night at all.
No.
He never went out hardly.
No, he did not.
As gregarious as he seemed on the golf course, he would live a fairly sheltered
He didn't
life.
like to go to cocktail parties.
Right.
He could entertain people terrifically, you know, if he's playing at a pro-am and
During the
stuff
day.
like that. But he didn't like to go sit around
Yeah.
and
That's what I've heard.
do that kind of stuff. And he was, and then Hale Irwin came along and did better on the senior tour than he did.
Right.
But
Scrappy.
Hale was awfully good also,
Mm-hmm.
but he was tough and mean.
Tough and mean. Yeah. And one of the best iron players ever.
Who?
Irwin. Best iron players.
Oh, yes.
One of the best iron players I saw.
Oh, yeah. Always. Yes.
No question. I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 great iron players that I can think of in the time I've watched it, and he would be one of them.
Yes.
Launer, Bernhard, Launer. Ooh, that's an iron player.
He's the best player. If you have to call for regular tour, senior tour, super senior tour, he has excelled at all of them, he's had putting problems, and he's changed every kind of way to putt that there is, and could find a way to putt.
Yeah.
But he's always been a great chipper and a great bunker player.
Yeah.
And he's got that funny little swing, but he knows exactly what he does.
Yeah.
And he's a fantastic chipper and putter and stuff like that. But Trevino was fun to watch play. I'm telling you, he liked to say to you, say, now watch this, Jimmy. I'm gonna start it right out there, out of that out of bounds. I'm gonna cut this baby in there. And everybody knows that the greatest shot that was ever hit was the good place we played the Open, and they always would say we're not going to play the back tee on this hole, but they always did. I think it's up north someplace.
Marion?
No, anyway, or maybe it was Chi-Chi hit that shot. But it was a big old hard hole, and the green was, you shot at the green, the green was like this. And you shot at it like this, there's a bunch of stuff in front of it and all that. And everybody was having a hard time because if you got it over the stuff here and onto the green, it went into bad stuff on the back. Well, I'm watching the damn tournament because I'd played the hole. I'm inside watching. And it was either Chi-Chi or it had to be Chi-Chi because Trevino couldn't hook the ball like that. It was Chi-Chi.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there's Chi-Chi aiming to the right of the green. And he hit one of these things that made it, turn like this and land ran up on the green this way. He played a 40-yard hook with some kind of an iron. And he didn't have to go over those traps. He just played over there and made it turn sideways and go up the length of the green.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we've watched in our time. We used to be able to move balls. And now it's very hard to move a ball. We used to be able to bring those soft balls in, and you could maneuver them. Today's ball really is very hard to move. That's as good players, it's almost taken some shot quality away compared to what he's talking about, how we used to move it around. It's harder to do that. Would you agree?
Yeah, but I think if the way they've practiced it, as hard as they work, they would have learned to do that. They just don't have to do it because the ball really doesn't curve as much.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any trouble hitting it left or right, but
Well,
what I'm saying is, what
when
I'm
you hit it
saying,
left or right, if you'd have had that other ball, you wouldn't believe where it went.
yeah, probably. But the biggest thing I've noticed is, well, not only the distance, but I think it's in the short game.
Oh, they're good.
No, and you see very few, chip and runs, which we used to do as kids.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The wedges are better.
Yeah.
But the one thing it's not disturbing, but I can see as far as they hit it, if they're a little bit off, they don't drive it as well.
No.
There's not a premium on putting the ball in the fairway
No. No.
and then hitting it on the green.
I would agree.
And after watching this past Open, maybe there won't be a premium on hitting fairways and greens. That they can hitting the fairways, because once they're in the rough, it seems like they can hit it on the green.
Yeah, they're strong enough to get it out.
Right.
You know,
And they're closer. They're hitting it so far. They're closer. So.
But the ball is different.
Mm-hmm.
boys are different.
Yeah, they're working out and they're really, really strong, and they've got the greatest technology, and all of them have, either a TrackMan or I don't know what the other one's called, front side.
And they got
or
a
whatever.
coach who don't get off.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Somebody's
We
watching
used
them
to
all
get
the
good
time. Well,
and
the
then
caddy is trained enough with the TrackMan and watching
He's
them.
watching it.
They
Yeah.
can say,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is what you're doing."
Yeah.
We could used to practice ourselves out of a good, hitting it good and not hitting it so good. Just practicing and not knowing what we were doing.
Just feel.
And but they're very careful about that. And
Yeah, they're looking at this all the way around. They're looking at this always. Just looking at the numbers, looking at the spin, the trajectory, the
Yes.
flight. It is different.
it's
And I was going to go there. Does that diminish the game in some fashion for you? Tell me what you think. We're sitting on the heels of watching DeChambeau win the Open at Wingfoot, where he sort of bombed away, drove it pretty well. I can't say that he didn't drive it poorly. He drove it pretty well, really. But he's flying at 360 and 370 and 380. The enjoyment of the game, does that still draw you to the game? Do you think that hurts the game or helps the game?
I don't think
Well,
it
I
hurts.
don't think it hurts the game. It's a business for them. This is just a business tool.
Sure.
I mean,
The
I think-
only way they like to talk about. Well, just think if it wasn't a pandemic, and it had thousands of people out there, all that rough would have been walked down.
Yeah.
They have the ropes, but then if you drive it on that side of the ropes, it's all walked down, and
Sure.
has a better deal than the guy that
That's
missed the
right.
fairway
That's
not
right.
as bad.
That's right.
And the USGA hadn't figured out that yet.
Right.
And the only way to do, if they want to penalize crooked driving, you go out there and you have your fairway, and you have maybe 10 or 15 yards of rough, and then you draw a white line that's out of bounds. They don't want to put out of bounds in the course, but if they
Right.
want to penalize people for
Interesting.
knocking it really sideways, and it just depends on how lucky you are. You hit the tree and you went over here and you did all that. But if that's the only way that you can make it so that the premium really gets back on being a lot straighter than these guys are, because they're missing the fairways, they're missing them 20 and 30 yards sometime, and they're over there slashing it out of their playing. And,
Or 60 or 70 yards.
Huh?
60 or 70 yards.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll hit it in other fairways. They
Yeah.
just launch away and see what they come up with. That's
So-
interesting, the white line. I don't know the USGA would do that.
yeah, well,
Well, if they want to,
That's
if
interesting. I
they
haven't heard
want,
that.
if they want to make it so that there is some premium for the players that can drive into fairways against the guys don't drive in the fairway, then there has to be some penalty that's more than what it is right now because they didn't drive in any fairways.
Right.
And when you looked at the Wingfoot course, the older courses, the adjacent fairways, did you notice how many trees they had taken out? I mean, all the canopies were really high.
Yeah.
Okay. And they've taken out trees to grow grass.
To grow grass, yeah.
Right.
And it's opened up those courses.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
very much
they
so.
didn't cut down any trees, they just took the canopies out.
Well, I think they've taken, I mean, just
Yeah,
like
a lot of those
Oakmont, they
they've
took
taken
out a lot
out.
of trees.
Oh.
I think they,
Oh,
taken
Oakmont took theirs down.
no, but they've taken out a lot of trees,
Yeah.
it looks like, at
Most of the
Wingfoot
old
when I
ones they
watched
have
it.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Would you retard the ball? I don't see that helps anything. Do you?
What's that?
Slow the ball down. Would you slow the ball? I mean, if you slow the ball down, it just slows the ball down for everybody. I guess it
Well,
brings
that's part
in.
of the fun.
But-
Distance is part of the fun.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Well,
a lot of
us,
people
for
do
us.
though. Yeah.
Well, it slows it down for everybody, but it's not, it's the fact that they're taking these magnificent old golf courses and making them look like toys.
Right. Right.
It's the golf course that receives the value of that,
Yeah.
that it gives the golf course the notoriety that it belongs to. They should be pretty, the USGA and Wingfoot should both be real happy. They had only one person
Yeah.
broke par for the tournament,
Yeah.
and only one person, this is the best players in the world, milked down from all the qualifying or whatever it is, and and now you're out there playing the last day of the golf tournament, and only one person broke par.
Right.
2 people shot par.
Yeah. That's what they tend to want.
I know.
That's what they
So
tend to
it
want.
really makes them mad that pros can, the best players in the world, they don't want them to be able to shoot par
Yeah.
for 72 holes.
And they accomplished that. They
Oh.
did accomplish that. We saw them win in a slightly different fashion. You know, it was a real bombing exhibition, but there's still only one player broke par,
Yeah.
and that's where they like it. I don't. Is that good? I don't know. I know I get frustrated, as you probably do, with watching a player needs to hit a fairway on the 18th and he can't find the world. That's kind of weird. Trevino would never miss a fairway. Nicholas wouldn't miss a fairway there.
Or
You know,
people hit their ball on the green, 50 feet up on the green, and the next thing you know, they're 25 or 30 yards down on the
Short
fairway.
of the green, yeah. But that's the old clubs. That comes with the territory when you play those classic old places. There's
Or if you go past the pin.
or go
Exactly.
long. I mean, you've played Wingfoot, I'm sure, that you can't get above the hole.
What's that?
You can't get above the hole at Wingfoot ever. I don't care if you're even hole high, you've got 15 feet, you got 10 feet of break.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Zach Johnson putted
Yeah.
one, it must have broken 30 feet where
Yeah.
he played it.
Yeah,
Not
there's
really down
just,
the hole.
there's just,
He dropped his club, everybody.
well, it's going to be interesting to see. I think there's a new era of how you play the game. We talked before we got on camera about how these players are playing strategically much different. They'll take DeChambeau tried to drive number 1 at Harbortown 4 days. I mean, no one's ever thought of that, and he played the whole 3 under. Just back in June. That's different, and there may be a new day coming that they're going to begin to
How
do
about
this.
this?
The white line off the fairway is pretty cool, though.
How about
That would change it.
this? What if no, you can't have a wedge with more than 54 degrees.
Yeah. That changes it.
Phew.
Yeah. A tee 2 inches. We talked about that. Only 2 inches on a tee.
Well, that would change it
That
too.
would change it. That's all of that's very interesting. I don't know that they'll do that, but
you know,
or a club longer, no
the
longer
worst
than your
thing,
driver.
remember, you know, you played when the worst thing to do was short side yourself. Short sided doesn't mean anything now.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of hitting their 56, they hit a 64.
Yeah. It's stomping.
Just depending on the course, what clubs you have in your bag.
It is something. It's a new day in a lot of ways. As far as they're hitting the ball, it's changing the dynamics of how they think, how they play. And I did an interview with John Farrell, and he said it's amazing. He's been there 30 years, and at Harbortown, and to watch, 20 years ago, the locker room was full of beer, donuts, candy, cookies.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and now it's salads and meats, and it's all fitness related. Every one of them are just getting bigger and stronger, and it's changed.
Well, how about this? Arnold Palmer won the first tournament there, right?
Yeah.
What did he shoot? Even par.
Even. Yeah.
It takes 10 under par to make the cut.
Yeah.
Did Jim tell you where he was saying where the tee used to be for 17.
For 17.
For number 17.
Yeah.
And it was, you always said, the tee was to the right of the 16th green.
Really?
Yeah, it was
So it played straight into the green rather than over that bunker.
First year I played the first year there.
Yeah.
And I played a practice round with Jack. And Jack was hitting a 3-iron to 17.
To 17.
When Arnold won the tournament, it'd be Richard Crawford.
Oh, yeah.
And they went to the 17th hole, and they both hit 3-irons, and they both were short of the green, and Arnold got up and down in 2, and what's his name?
Richard.
Took 3, and they both parred 18.
We won.
That tee was way over here, which means you're shooting like this toward the water across the green, and it was 190-something yards long.
Yeah.
And I went in and I talked to Pete after playing. I said, Pete, that goddamn hole, how long do you say it? He says about 160. I said, I swear to God, I hit my 2-iron and could barely get there. Jack hit a 3-iron to the hole, and Jack is a pretty long 3-iron player. And then Arnold's hitting a 2-iron the last day of the tour, 3-iron the last day of the tournament. He can't get there.
Can't get there. Yes.
Now you think that didn't change that hole a lot?
Yeah.
And they did all
That's what
kinds
they
of
did in
things.
15.
Right.
15, they took a lot of trees out
Right.
on the right-hand side.
They beat it up pretty good this year because they played it in June
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to April, and you get a lot more swirly conditions. It's a little firmer in April. For the most part, it was pretty soft in June. For the most part, year in, year out, that course holds its own. They don't shoot 20 under on it. They did this year. They shot a bunch under this
Yeah, and
year.
Brian Gay shot that. I mean, he won it by an unbelievable amount.
Yeah, that's a
number of years ago.
But it's, for the most part, that holds up okay over there. And but it's tight. It's not easy. There has to be a penalty for driving it off the world, and you get some penalty there.
See, there's a lot of trees there and a lot of out of bounds.
Right.
So sometimes that happens to you.
They were hitting John was telling me they were hitting it over the net. They had to pull them back. They were driving the ball over that tall net.
That thing is really tall too down there.
It is tall. I mean, you look at that thing; it's stunning. But that's, they saw 5 or 6 balls off the practice tee flying into that road back there, and
that
call
course,
them off.
They've lengthened the course some since the beginning, but not a whole lot.
No, not much room, really.
No,
not any room.
I'm gonna tell you what. The course is a lot easier That course was in terrible condition when Arnold won the tournament the first year.
Yeah.
And for a long time after that, you know, they had the centipede in the rough.
Mm.
And that stuff was just, the rough was just fluff, that fluff sand. Everywhere you walk, there's footprints. You hit your ball in the rough, you were in a footprint.
Yeah.
And you missed the green, you were in a footprint. And they had that damn old high pampas grass right behind the green. I played with Dan Sykes on number 2, and he hit a wonderful drive down there and hit this wonderful shot over the green and rolled it in one of those pampas grasses about this big. He went crazy. He went chopping on that thing. You know, they had that stuff all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
It was over to the right of
it's on number 8.
that 3-par hole is so damn hard. All the 3-pars
Yeah,
are
they
hard.
are.
Number 4.
4.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4 water.
The water.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
then when you got number
back
7.
over to
Yeah,
the right.
but over,
Yeah.
all over there to the right was
Right.
all that grass is this
That's
tall.
tough stuff. Yeah, that's a tough hole. Well, it's held. That one's held up well, and it's certainly one of my favorites.
Oh, it's a great golf
You know,
course.
and again in the South, we were talking about our top 10 in the South.
Oh, that's awesome.
Before I get away,
I moved.
if you have one round to play, the rest of your life, where's it going to be?
Oh God.
One round.
One round?
Yeah. Where would it be? Not who, with, just
No,
where would it be?
just right here.
Right here.
Right here at home.
Right here at home.
Long
That makes
road.
sense. Jimmy, one round to play.
Well, if they would grow the rough back up at Old Town Club, there.
Old Town.
Yeah.
Home.
If
It almost always goes back to home. It really
But if
does.
they grow the rough back, you
If
said.
they grow back. If they don't grow it back, where are you going? One round. Here. Yeah. I'm
Oh.
still St. Andrews.
We're lucky, yeah, but we're just
Oh, I
lucky
didn't
to
know
have
you
so
were
many
talking
nice
about that.
courses here.
Yeah. I'm still St. Andrews for one round.
I would say number 2, but I can't play well enough to play.
We might not be able to walk when we're doing it, so
Well, that
Yeah.
one wouldn't be a bad call either. That's for
No.
sure. Well, guys, let's wrap it up. We're
Thank you
running.
so
We're running
much.
out of day. We can stay here all night. You know,
Yeah.
we were talking an hour and a half beforehand. So
You're welcome.
we'll. You guys have just been tremendous
What I was-
ambassadors for the
Yes,
game.
when we were at Chapel Hill, they would let us come down and play number 2 anytime we wanted to. And it was like going to a different world because Chapel Hill's up there with all the hardwoods, and the Finley golf course didn't have good drainage, and there's that old clay damn ground, and you'd leave there and it's not but 80 miles down there, and all of a sudden it's all those green pine trees and all that good beautiful green ryegrass they put in the winter time, and those blue. It was incredible to go down there and play.
Oh, it's as good. It's a tremendous test, and it's a beautiful place to walk. You know, it's a beautiful
even in the
walk.
village.
I love that
Oh, it
place.
is. No,
Just
no,
a
walking,
gorgeous.
of course.
It's a great walk. It's a beautiful. You hear the bells of the church. You know.
I
you know,
gotta
there's so much
bring
going on.
something up. That was you up at Roaring Gap when we were up there. We were sitting there talking that day at
Yeah.
Roaring Gap,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's a
You remember
beautiful
what
spot.
he said?
I don't know. We asked him, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And what did he say?
We were talking about all those courses, said, but this is the best one.
This is the
that's
best
a good
one.
That's a good one up there. I love that Roaring Gap.
It is so much fun to play.
There's a lot of good, there's a lot of good Ross courses in the mountains. Biltmore Forest is wonderful. Old Linville,
Yeah.
marvelous to play. So that Roaring Gap is really a
It's,
cracking
it's
golf
really
course.
good. It's really good. It's,
It's a
it's
hidden
so
gem,
It
right?
playable.
really is.
It's
Yeah.
such a wonderful playable course. God damn. They've had to keep working on the Linville course to get it to stay
Mm.
playable, you know. Bobby Weed's redone it and
Mhm.
redone it, redone it, and all that kind of stuff. The, t- the greens kept getting more and more like this.
Yeah.
There's that one hole that you cannot, if you hit it just over the green and you pick
It
it
is
up
a
with
tough
your hand and drop it. It goes 50 feet down the
Is
green.
it 5 or 6? That par 3.
There's
Yes,
some.
it's a
The
par.
par 3 on the front
Yeah,
at Roaring Gap.
yeah, the
3, 4, 5. I don't know which one.
Yeah, it's that little one, that little short one.
Oh,
down
yeah.
the hill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And remember at Grandfather,
Oh, yeah.
it took them 3 or 4 redos on that 1-3 par up there that you could make it stay on that green
Couldn't
save your life.
couldn't stay on the green. There's several up there. I played 1 or 2 tournaments there in the early years when I was in the section.
I was surprised
and
at
4 or 5
Ellis.
over win. You know,
Oh, yeah.
you can hardly break par on that one in competition.
What's that?
Grandfather. You
Grandfather.
can barely break par in competition. You know, even 1, 4 or 5 over would win the tournament.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, it's a hard course.
Ooh,
God
stuff.
almighty.
I do, but Roaring Gap is a wonderfully special place. You know, most of the mountain golf, it tends to be in valleys,
Yeah.
whereas at Roaring Gap, you're kind of working up and around, and so
But
you've got a lot of singularity.
It's basically on top of that mountain.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you walk up on 17 and you look at the world
Oh yeah.
off down the
Yeah.
right.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
18th to the butt kicker.
Huh?
18.
Oh, that par
that
3.
Par 3.
Ooh.
Oof.
Which one?
18.
18, the par
18.
3.
Oof. I had driver there the last time I played. Nasty green, all of it. Well,
It's as bad as that last hole at Bora.
We talked about a lot today, didn't we?
we've covered it all. And now you know why I wanted to be here. We could have stayed here for
Couple-
5 hours.
at least a couple of days.
There were a couple more bottles of red. I
Well,
think
we've been talking since about 3:30, so here it is.
Couple of days.
6:45.
I love it.
We're going to have enough lies and been enough
We've
places.
covered up lies.
Keep talking.
You guys have been incredible ambassadors to this game. Incredible, both of you.
Thank you so
Both
much.
of you. Delightful people. Thank you for all you've done for the game, for what you've done for the low country of golf, the juniors. We didn't really get into the juniors, so you know what you've done there, but and we could have talked forever. I knew this was going to be the case, but thank you.
You're
You
welcome.
are absolute
You know
a lady and a
what
gentleman.
my goal in life now is?
What?
Not to drive her crazy, but I can't. I don't think I can do make it. And I think I'm about through playing golf, and she's so good. I want her to get her butt together and
Play a little more.
be the first lady to break her age here.
Oh yeah.
How old are you?
70.
That's not a nice.
You
thing.
should be able to do
That's
that.
okay.
That's okay.
I don't mind.
If
I
she'll
like
go
them in
play,
good shape.
she plays the same tees I play.
Yeah.
If she'll go out and play the real ladies tees
Yeah.
and work on, if I could caddy for her, she could break
Break her
70
age. Yeah.
every day.
Oh yeah, I think you would. Yeah.
Every time I ever caddied for
Yeah.
her, she qualified for the Open or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and then she finally banned me. You don't know this shit.
Well, bad
he
green. He's a bad greener.
scrutinizes my game so much, you know.
Oh, he
I'm
does?
I'm thinking about what is he thinking, and
She
I'm
banned
trying to
me.
be.
Yeah.
She played in a big
Yeah.
USGA event at Sea Island and had me taken off the course. She thought it.
He was hiding in the bushes.
She
you know.
said, I think he's critiquing my swing, and I'm thinking about my swing. They made me come in. I had to sit in the locker room and watch it, and the announcer says, and this is Karen Ferree. She just had she had her husband banished from the golf courses.
I like that story. That's a good one there. I like that one. I like
I
that.
think he's
I'd kick
David,
you
yeah.
out
critiquing
too.
my swing.
I'd kick you out too. I'd kick you out. You're a character. You've always been a character. And you're both wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
God
We
bless.
really enjoyed it.
It's just a lot of fun.
Good luck in your retirement too.
Well, thanks. We're gonna have some fun doing this. We'll have some quiet time in the mountains. That's what I'm looking for.
Well,
It's been
surely
a
you'll
long
come out of
run.
the mountain soon.
Is secession still open?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's open.
Secession's still open.
It's doing just fine. All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.